There we go.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here. This is our second night with Gina here visiting us, doing the malibration method to do calibrations.
Mhm.
And my name is Amanda Towne, and so I'm in Miami Beach, and I started this meetup about a year and a half ago to just create a community of like-minded individuals. And we focus mostly on Abraham Hicks, but we also talk about lots of other different teachers and law of attraction. And Gina has the Mallison method that she developed, and I've been in her program since June, well, her training program since June, but I was in her program before that. And it's the most fun group I've been in. It's just,
Ever,
yes,
right? Like
it is.
ever. We have the most fun and
Yes,
it's the most transformative. Like it's, which I think one of the reasons why it's so transformative is because it's so fun. It's like
yes,
nothing serious going on here, but there is something serious, but you wouldn't even know
yeah,
it.
yeah. And we've even been, some of us have been traveling together, and it's great, created this great community,
Yeah,
and I love it. Yeah.
yeah. Chosen family,
Yes, yes, absolutely.
vibrational family for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we started this last week, and if you didn't catch last week, go back and listen to the recording because Gina gave a lot of background on herself, the malibration method, how she developed it, and how it works. So we don't want to repeat that whole thing, but we're going to talk. Well, we were going to do check-ins first.
Yeah. So raise your hand, either physical or digital, if you were not here last week and this is your first go around with me. Okay. Those of you that were not here last week, did you see the recordings or you're coming in blank? You're coming in blank. Oh my goodness. I love it. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Like Amanda said, I'm not going to go over all the details of like how the Mallison method came about and my story. If you want to check that out, you can go watch the replay. But I will let you know that the Mallison method is a technique I created or invented, or I like to say received. I received it over time. It's really been molding over years and years and years. It's a combination of all the amazing teachings of Abraham Hicks. That's the foundation of it. But the processes are taken from and modified from something called NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. If you follow Tony Robbins, you're maybe familiar with it a little bit. NLP, how it's taught and used, is vastly very, very, very different than how it's applied in the Mallison method. There's still kind of strategy and manipulation and some focus on outcomes involved in NLP. But within those processes, there's some gems that really help you move energy and emotion. And so that's what I took and modified and tweaked and married with the teachings of Abraham Hicks in order to allow people to calibrate their vibration significantly on any topic. You cannot bring a topic that's too dark and gross to a session and not have some significant movement. It is a wonderful tool. And so those of you that were here last week, you got to see a taste of it. We're going to do at least one calibration tonight. But before we jump into a calibration, one of the things I'd like to provide to each of you is a cheat sheet on how to do a self-malibration or self-calibration. So, there's tons of processes out there that help you move vibration. Tapping is one of them, yoga, meditating. There's lots of different ones. The thing I really love about malibration, is what we call it, Mallison method plus calibration is a malibration, is that it really hones in on the topic, allows you to, in a container that's intended to move vibration, you allow yourself to activate and feel that awful, awful emotion in a safe place. We're not activating it to build momentum. We're activating it for you to sense it in your body and then use these fun little processes to release resistance and feel the gradual relief of feeling a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better viscerally in your body. You're not on the topic when you're in the middle of a calibration. In fact, you get on the topic to activate the feeling. Let's say it's anger. And then you change all your attention and put it in your body. So you're no longer on the topic, which this allows you to not add momentum to it. you activate the feeling, you feel it in your body, and then you do these little games and tricks with the emotion and allow it to soften and release resistance. And what I really love about the Mallison method is it doesn't get you just to a place of neutral. Sometimes that's where you end up, but more often than not, you end up in a place of feeling a really juicy emotion, like deep satisfaction or intense joy or love or appreciation or all is well and knowing. Those are my favorite. Calm, all is well and knowing. I love, 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 love. And when you're feeling those, it's very intense, visceral feeling. Whereas like something like tapping, not to poo-poo tapping, but oftentimes tapping just kind of soothes you a little bit. And you still might have a little aggravation, but you're not like on the other end of the vibrational stick. Mallison method, something about it gets you on the opposite end of the stick. So you might go from confusion to absolute knowing. Oh my gosh, from overwhelm to all is well. Like you really get to the other end of the stick. And then in a guided session, your coach guides you back to that topic and you see it through the eyes of source. It's really quite magical. And so again, we'll allow you to see a calibration live. One of you will get picked. But I also want to leave you tonight with a tool that you can use on your own. Now, give me just a second. I'm going to just lower these hands so I can move my squares around. Good. So this tool, so Amanda shared it with me. So I'm going to share it with all of you.
Oh, whoops, sorry.
We were chatting private earlier, so she sent the link just to me. So this link, go ahead and click it just to have it open. And if you lose track of it, Amanda, you can DM Amanda and she can send it to you. Maybe she'll post it in our Facebook group, possibly. But this is like a little cheat sheet. It's a little sloppy, but it's a cheat sheet on how to do this method on your own. Now, when you do this method on your own, it's not as significant of a full release other end of the stick as you get with a coach. And the reason why is when you're with a coach who's guiding your focus, you can really let go of that topic and fully be present with the movement of the energy in your body. And when you're doing it on your own, it's very difficult to actually let go of the topic. You will achieve some good movement. So what I recommend is practicing, if you feel inspired, practice doing this on a lighter topic, not one that's like a real, pardon my French, shit show in your life. So take something that's like mildly frustrating and see if you can move some energy on that, and then try another topic over here. Let's say you stubbed your toe. Oh, one of my favorite things to do with the self-calibration is actually like on a physical ailment. I don't know if you guys have ever heard Abraham talk about that body conditions and pain is actually loud emotion. And I 100% believe that. I experience it all the time in calibrations. I remember one client came to me with like severe sciatica pain. It was like a 9. And at the end of the session, it was a 0 because she was able to release resistance and allow her body to relax. And then the pain wasn't there. So one of my favorite things to do self-calibration on is like, if I ever get a headache, I just stop, drop, and calibrate using this tool. I close my eyes. We'll go over the sheet in a second, but you'll allow that body pain to become something you can see in your imagination as this abstract object that you can change the color, change the texture, and you'll just feel that pain melt away and your headache could be gone like that. So before we jump into the going over the cheat sheet for the self-calibration, if anybody was here last week and wants to share anything, I was hoping that Jane would be back. Jane was somebody, I'll tell you her success story if you didn't see it on the Facebook page. So Jane was the one that got calibrated last week, and she got calibrated on her noisy neighbor who has heavy machinery using it in the backyard all day, every day. In fact, while we were calibrating, it was noisy, which was perfect because she was able to pick up the feeling. And if you go back and watch that replay, if you were there, just remind you, she initially thought that she was feeling really frustrated and maybe angry. But when I actually had her close her eyes to intentionally tune into that subject, she actually felt hopeless. It's very interesting when you actually take a time to really time out and focus singularly on identifying what is the actual emotion rather than just ping-ponging around and it just being loosey-goosey. It's this, it's this, it's this. You really, let me just settle down and think about this topic. She was feeling hopeless. And I can't remember all the emotions we got to on the other end, but she was feeling amazing. And that whole rest of the night, not a peep out of that neighbor, the whole, like she said, I think last I heard a couple of days ago, she's only heard the neighbor like one time since that calibration. And this used to be like an all day, every day thing. She just heard the neighbor like one time, and she realized when she noticed it, she initially had like a irk, like up, but then she was like, no, I'm not going to focus on this, and turned her focus elsewhere. And then the noise stopped. It's literally like one of the most fantastic examples of how law of attraction works. Whatever you focus on, you'll get more of. And so she was so intensely focused on this neighbor, that's all she could pay attention to. This calibration helped her unfocus from that agitating thing outside, focus back into the well-being that abounds, and not have that not bother her at all. And because it was no longer bothering her and grabbing her attention, it had to leave her experience. It was so cool. He didn't have to move. He just stopped making noise. Crazy. Calibrations are truly, truly magical. So any questions before we dive into the self-calibration sheet, or any updates from any experiences? I remember, Tiffany, you spoke up at the end of our calibration, and you said, while I was guiding Jane through the calibration, you calibrated yourself like on a similar topic and found relief. Is there any updates you want to give to us, Miss Tiffany? If you're listening, you're muted in case you're talking. No, okay, maybe she's just listening in the background to us. All right,
Okay,
here we
I'm
go.
sorry, I just unmuted. I'm so sorry. I unmuted. Plus, I was looking at the Google Doc, and I'm like, how do I get back? Yeah. So what happened was, immediately for the next, I want to say, week or so, it was like they were gone. It
Because
was.
you
It was
had
like
like a
2 weeks
noisy
where it
neighbor
was like,
too. She was, yeah.
yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa, this is nuts. This really works. But then I had to do it again because something, I guess maybe something triggered my focus again.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then I did it again, and then it disappeared again. So I need to do it again today.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Tiffany, you just served this up like crazy. Like this is the thing. As much as we want like a process to be one and done, and it has the opportunity to do that, like, because really you have free will in where you focus. Sometimes it feels like you don't, because law of attraction really is pulling your attention here. So it's almost if you don't have free will. But generally, when I work with a client, especially if it's a topic that does have some momentum and some time and space with it, it will take more than one session. But that's not to say in one session you can get massive relief, a huge change in your reality. And generally, I love how you described it, because it's literally how it goes. Usually, like when I meet with a client, it's this huge release, a big change in the reality. But because your old thoughts and beliefs have momentum over the next few days, like that messy drawer agitated me, and all the laundry or whatever, and your vibration starts coming down, and you're more susceptible to trigger those old thoughts again. So really brilliant that you recognize, oh, it's time to calibrate again. And because she practiced self-calibrating while I was guiding somebody else, she can do it. And you guys will be able to self-calibrate today as well after you go over this document. Thank you, Miss Tiffany. Congratulations. I love it. It's so amazing. Okay, so let me close this. I'm going to share my screen. Now, I realize some of you might be watching this from your phone, so the screen I share is going to be really tiny. But you have the link to the Google Doc, so if you'd rather pull that up, and you can look at it that way. Plan on printing it later, but I'm going to pull it up on my shared screen here, and we're going to go through it together, okay? And as I go through it, if you have questions, what I'd like you to do is raise your digital hand. When I share my screen, I only see like 4 of your squares at a time. So if you raise your physical hand, I'm not going to see that you're raising your hand. So once you raise your digital hand, it'll kind of pop up on my screen. And once there's a good time for me to pause going through the document and go to your question, I will do that. Okay. Sound like a deal? Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay. Self-calibration. So you each got a link. Oh, look how many of you are on here already. I love it. Anonymous anteater. Anonymous blobfish. These are funny. Okay. So self-calibration steps. So in the Mallison method, there's 3 main steps to the method. Step 1 is identification. It's here on the first page. And identification, as a reminder, is you're identifying what is the dominant wobbly emotion that you're going to be calibrating in this session. You're not calibrating hopelessness, frustration, and pessimism at the same time. This is all about, you get the movement, the significant movement when you focus on one dominant emotion and one dominant thought at a time. So step 1 is identification. I'll go over the details of that in a second. The second part of the Mallison method is actually the calibration. And most of you probably know what the word calibration is. It's used in like calibrating an instrument or calibrating your car. You're tuning it. That's what a calibration is. You're tuning it. So this is the part of the Mallison method where there's actually energy movement. The resistance is being released little by little by little by little. So this is the second part of the Mallison method, release of resistance, feeling a little better, little better, little better. And then the third part of the Mallison method is integration. So once you've released resistance and that cork is now floating, as Abraham would say, you let go of the cork and it bobs up, your cork is bobbed up, you're going to identify, what are the feelings I am feeling? Satisfaction, ease, all is well, maybe some love. Like, you're never trying to go for an emotion. You're allowing the emotion to reveal itself once you let go of the resistance. It's magical. So whatever good emotions you end with, you're just going to allow yourself to milk them viscerally as a feeling sensation. A lot of the teachings of Abraham Hicks are great, but trying to use thought, especially thought about that topic to feel better, can be a rough road. Like, I've never had much success with it. So this is about taking the thought and the subject out, and really, you'll see today, if it'll be your first time, how you actually tune your attention to the sensations in your body. Love, oh my gosh, for you, love might feel like it's in your heart and it feels like it's radiating out a purple glow. But for somebody else, love, you might feel it in your gut and it's a yellow mist, And so however it's showing up for you is like an abstract object that you can turn your attention to. You want to milk it, allow it to expand and get more. And you kind of do that with all the good emotions. And then once you're just all juiced up, you're just super connected to source, feeling all these good feelings, your channel is open, then you guide your attention back to the topic and allow the clarity to roll in through your open channel without the resistance blocking your receiving of what's been there all along for you. So that's the integration part. It's taking this beautiful divine state that you reach at the end of step 2 and integrating it into your now, into your life. Like, sometimes people like meditate and they get to like this kind of out of body state. Oh, I feel so good. And then they come out of meditation and it's right back to the rah, 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 right? This is like, how can we allow you to achieve this delicious divine state? And before you open your eyes and kind of go back to reality, how can you be here and imagine going through the rest of your day feeling this bliss in your body? Imagine walking through the rest of your day feeling proud and satisfied. You're going to notice your posture is better, your breathing is better, your face is kind of glowing. And so you want to kind of think of that as pre-paving. Abraham Hicks will talk about pre-paving. Perfect opportunity to pre-pave the rest of your day when you're actually feeling viscerally in your body these delicious feelings. And then you can also pre-pave, again, looking back at that topic and get a new perspective on it. So let's go through it little by little. All right. So self-calibration steps. The first thing you want to do, first, I don't have it written here, but you want to.
And Gina, can you expand the document a little bit?
Is that good?
Yes, that's
that's big. Okay. Okay. So first things first, you want to stop, drop, and calibrate. So you want to make sure you're in a private place and you won't be interrupted. You want to be in a container, because this process can take, if you're doing it on yourself, it might take 5 minutes or 30 minutes, And so you want to make sure you're not interrupted, because the thing that makes this so successful is your ability to singularly focus. So be in a private room and make sure that you've got some time. So that's actually step one. Then I think it's nice to have a little notepad and say, like, what's the topic? Okay, it's my noisy neighbor. So you might write that down on a sheet, noisy neighbor. And notice it says high level. Don't go into the details of the story. My neighbor moved in 10 years ago and he's been noisy ever since. And then he's got a bitchy wife and his dog barks all the time. And blah. Don't go into the story. Just high level. What's the topic? My super noisy neighbor. Now, what's the most dominant negative emotion you feel about it? Remember what I said about Jane last week? Initially, with her eyes open, she was like, I'm really frustrated and angry. But when she actually took the time to close her eyes and intentionally focus on this to find what the real, true kind of root emotion is, she found it was hopelessness. So when you get to this question, allow yourself to close your eyes, think about that topic, and really find what's the most dominant, not good feeling emotion. Again, there might be a couple emotions, frustration and sadness. Well, which is most dominant? I promise you, when you calibrate one, the other will release resistance too. And if it doesn't fully release, do what like Tiffany kind of said she did, is like, you go through one round of this and you notice, okay, are there any additional wobbles? Oh, there is some sadness. Let me do this round two now on this singular emotion. So pick one of the most dominant. And then the next question, is there a main looping thought? There likely is. And so when you're close your eyes and you think of this topic and you feel, let's say the emotion is anger, there is probably a looping thought. Like it could be as simple as like, that jackass, or like, this is never going to get better. This is never going to get better. There's, if you go out and you cast a wide net, you can find 1,000 thoughts that go with that emotion, but you're really looking for the main looping thought, maybe 2 thoughts. If you go and reach for too many thoughts, that's actually when you build momentum, and you don't want to build momentum on the anger. We're isolating the anger and kind of what's the main thought. Remembering, for those of you that know Abraham Hicks, this will sound familiar. Remember that anytime you feel a negative emotion, what that negative emotion is indicating to you is like, kind of like, how far away is your thought from your inner being's thought? So that's kind of like, we want to know what's that troubling thought that is like the disconnector between you and your inner being. And that's why this is helpful to identify. Good. Again, just a reminder, raise your digital hand if you have any questions along the way. Okay. So now we're kind of getting into, go ahead and close your eyes, feel the emotion and feel it as big as you can make it. Allow yourself to really feel where it is in your body. Again, for those of you that haven't seen a calibration yet, you're going to get to see a full one here, and you'll get to see, like, whenever you feel any emotion, it shows up somewhere in your body as a feeling, and that's why they call emotions feelings. Anyway, that's what I think. So you might feel it in your gut or your heart or your left elbow or your right eyeball. It doesn't matter where it is. There's no wrong place. Just note where it is. And then what you do then, once you identify where it is in your body, put all your attention on that sensation. You're off the story. You can get off the story because you already wrote it down. So your notepad is keeping track of it for you. Think about your notepad as kind of like your coach. They got it. You can drop it, put all your attention on your feelings in your body. And here we go with identification. So in identification, these questions, all of them are extremely valuable, and they're very valuable to go in this order. So first of all, where do you feel this emotion in your body? And you can keep track of this in your mind, because you don't have to like open your eyes and write it down every time. You could, but you probably will have better luck if you stay focused. So where is it in your body? Is it heavy, light, or medium in its weight, or neutral? And then is it moving at all or completely still? I guess you're going to have to open your eyes as you do this until you memorize all these different questions. But is it moving or still? It could be vibrating. It could be pulsing. It could be like waves. It could be up and down, circular. Like, just notice, is it moving at all, or is it completely still? What does it feel like it's made out of? Does it feel solid and dense, or like energy or liquid or air? I know these questions sound weird, but when you're singularly focus on this sensation and you ask these questions, you'll be able to answer them. It might take you a few beats to kind of make it out, but as you're searching for, what is this texture? Oh, it feels like steel. And as soon as you identify it, feels like steel, you'll actually start to see it in your imagination. Then you're going to ask yourself, what color is it? And as you ask the question, and then you go to where that feeling is and you look for the answer, it'll appear. It's like as if there was nothing there, and all of a sudden, as you ask these questions, this abstract object appears. And this is what's beautiful. You want to ask these questions in such a way that it's like this definable, seeable, feelable thing that's like this object. All right. Sometimes I even ask, is there a shape to it? All right. Any questions about identification? One of the things I really, 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 really love about this step, first of all, it gets you out of the story. So momentum doesn't keep going. It is where it is. But then as you focus on it, it really helps you kind of separate yourself from associating as the emotion. You know, like think about even when people say, I am angry, they're actually saying, I am angry. Like, no, you're not angry. You're feeling the emotion of anger, but you are not angry. You're not the emotion. So as you identify the feeling in your body and ask these questions, it becomes, there's like something that happens that makes you realize this is not you, this is a sensation, and the sensation gets to feel better, and then you get to feel better. All right, so now let's move on. David Jones, I have to say, you look like you're like a podcaster or something, like you're in a studio or something, you know, and you got the hat on and everything. What do you do over there? All right, so calibration. So once you've identified it as a thing, now, oh gosh, this is so big on my screen. Okay, the first things first is when you've identified it, if you identified that there is movement, this is where you start. If this thing had no movement, you skip this step. I almost want to maybe put this in gray, and I'll make a note later. Only do this step if it was initially moving. So let's say it was spiraling. Let's use Rhonda's here, I think. Rhonda, sometimes when she feels an icky emotion, it's like a hurricane in her gut. So, and this hurricane is spinning and it's gray and it has debris in it. So if I was working with her and it was moving, I would ask her, Rhonda, imagine this hurricane moving even faster and more. And tell me, does that feel better, worse, or the same? And for her, it feels worse. Sometimes when you have something moving and you move it faster, it actually does feel better. Most often it feels better when it's slower. But this is your opportunity. Again, this again dissociates you with thinking that you're the emotion. You actually get to play around with this and notice you've got control knobs on these emotions. Speed it up. Notice that doesn't feel better. Now try slowing it down. You notice that even if you did a change that made it feel worse, no biggie. Reverse the change and have it feel better. It really gets you to realize how much power and control you have over your emotions. It's amazing. So you want to ask if it wants to move faster or slow down, or maybe it wants to stop. And allow yourself to stay on this part until it feels the best it can feel in terms of movement. Does that make sense? So if you determine, oh, it likes to go slower, you'll allow yourself to focus on seeing and feeling it move slower and slower and slower until it's just right. You want to, like, each of these steps, you want to get it as good as it wants to feel and then move on to the next step. You don't want to rush through these. You want to take it moment by moment. And then you ask yourself, does it feel a little bit better, worse, or the same? And if it feels a little better, either a lot better, sometimes it feels a lot better. Sometimes it feels just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit better. Well, you want to allow yourself to acknowledge and feel, even if it's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit better, you want to allow yourself to feel that relief. Then you move on to the color. Okay, so now that this hurricane is really, really slow, what color would feel better than dirty gray? It could be hot pink, it could be sky blue, it could be sparkly yellow, it could be clear. So you kind of ask yourself this question and kind of cycle through different colors, try them on. You don't have to, it's not a test. You're not going to fail if you don't get it right the first time. Blue feels better than gray, but yellow feels better than blue. Oh, hot pink. And then you just find the color that feels the best, and then allow yourself to, in your imagination, see and imagine feeling it change to that color. And then again, ask yourself, does that feel better? Yes. Take a nice breath and allow yourself to feel that relief. And then you go on to the next one, texture. Instead of made out of storm clouds, what texture would feel better? It could be silk, it could be soap bubbles, it could be bubble gum, it could be liquid, like literally anything that you can think of, you can change it to that and then allow yourself to feel the relief. And then again, does it feel a little better, worse, or the same? Next up, you can location. Do I like it in my stomach? Or would I rather move it somewhere else in my body or pop it out of my body? I could put it around me. I could send it away and watch it fly away. You get to choose where you want this to go. And oftentimes, especially with location, it's good to like work with it. Like, where does it want to be? What would feel good for it? You don't want to be adversarial with this, like, oh, it's a bad feeling, I just want it out and then the trash. Well, good luck with that. If you try to get that feeling out, it's going to come right back, because whatever you resist persists, right? So you're working with this. What would feel better? I promise you that this feeling that started out feeling not good wants to feel better too. So when you work in cahoots with it, it's going to be very agreeable, and you and this feeling are both going to feel better. So size is another thing you can do. Change it, make it bigger, make it smaller, make it in between. Again, imagine you got control knobs on this object, because you do, it's your imagination. Make it bigger, notice how that feels. Make it smaller, notice how that, and then taste just the right size. Like all these little elements has a vibration. And one of my favorite things is to talk about, like, taste the vibration of that. How does that feel? Oh, well, you want to tweak something? You want to change the shape? What shape do you want? Ooh, I want to be shaped like a unicorn. I don't know. Like whatever feels good. There's no rules. You can't be too silly with this. And then check in anything else you want to change. And yes. Any questions about the calibration part where you're actually modifying the thing?
Amanda, I have, is that Amanda or Gina? Sorry, that's Gina that you're saying.
I'm Gina.
Sorry, Gina. This is Sanjay, and I absolutely love what you're saying. And one thing I've noticed is with the calibration, I found that being in nature calibrates. Like, for example, when I lived in Hawaii, or I've been to any mountainous areas, I was just in Portugal a few months ago, and I can't explain it. It automatically tunes me.
Absolutely.
Have you noticed that?
Absolutely.
For whatever reason, it just automatically in seconds?
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons why, I mean, Abraham will talk about this all the time, like nature itself, the beasts, plants, because they don't get in their head and try to use strategy or manipulation. They are with nature. And so when you're surrounded by nature, being nature, you're calibrating to that. Like a lot of this work is to get you to release these patterns of strategy and manipulation and efforting and striving and trying to get outcomes. A rose isn't trying to get an outcome. It's just being and growing. And so when you are surrounded by things that are behaving in a natural way, it tunes you back to your natural way of being. And so, yeah, like you can use great music to calibrate, all the time. I've got this amazing playlist on Spotify called Spa Music, no words, just it's like 13 hours long. And I play that and I immediately calibrate into calm and peaceful and like this slowed down thing. The thing is, so you can use things and conditions like that to calibrate and allow yourself to feel this good feeling. The thing I would say that can add to it and play around with it is, once you know you've been calibrated by anything, nature, music, this technique, then see if you can be paying attention to the sensations in your body and guide your attention to a previously wobbly topic. Because this is where, I mean, there's magic in just calibrating just to calibrate. But when you calibrate and know that you're at a nice vibration, a pure vibration with an open channel, and you intentionally direct your attention from a gentle, broad perspective place to see that subject in a new way, this is called calibrating vibrational set points. So there's just calibrating your mood. Oh, I'm feeling good, and no, I'm not feeling, but generally every single person has a topic in their life that's very triggering. So I might calibrate to nature, but then when I get a call from my ex-boss and it's like, fuck you, like, so the set point on that topic is down here. So using something like nature music to get you in a steady place, open channel with the intention, now that I know I'm feeling good, I'm going to see if I can look at that subject and see it in a softer, gentle, source viewed way. It's not always possible. It's one of the things I love about this method. It's very, very specific. This method is about feeling better, but it's about feeling topically better. So that you actually change the set point on that topic. Like Abraham says, if you heard them talk about the pile of sticks, like think about your life and all the categories and subcategories and subcategories, like a big pile of sticks. And once you pick up a stick, which means you're giving your attention to that category, like the stick of your boss. Once you pick up that stick of the topic of your boss, your vibration is where you last left it, right? Or where you trend most often. What's the most common feeling you feel about your boss? And so if it's not great, this is something to bring to a calibration or a self-calibration to see if you can change the set point, see that boss forever in a different way, and then therefore attract a different experience from him. But yeah, the more tools you have in your tool belt to help you calibrate to a better feeling, the better. Yes. So thank you, Sanjay.
And Gina, I appreciate that. I mean, if I could quickly add to what you said, what I've noticed is I'm going back to Portugal because I noticed that mountain area, I'm going to look to retire there. There's a house that's like scattered almost in the mountains. And there's a pool. It's almost like an infinity pool. You see swimming into the mountains, and there's a beach below. And then there's almost like a meditation area. You were talking about meditation. And I would go through body work with like get a 2-hour massage 5 days a week, almost like you're living in a resort, right? And I would have a personal trainer. And I would also be working with a life coach, or maybe one of you, Gina or Amanda. And I think I would be doing that remotely. And what I realized is it's almost like going on a retreat so that I could learn the new patterns. And I think release any trauma from the body or any emotional responses by changing the locale and then kind of venturing out. I think the main thing I've noticed is safety and trust. Really important that people mean well, I mean well for others, and it kind of helps to almost like fine tune yourself outside of your normal setting. I mean, I don't know. I also think it's helpful to do it anywhere, but I think that would really help me to really kickstart something entirely new.
Yeah, it can. The one thing I'll say, and this is great, is especially not everybody can go to Portugal, to a place like this and whatnot, to like, there's the things you can do to change your conditions in order to make it easy to calibrate. But the most powerful creators are able to learn how to use their ability to focus and unfocus in any condition in order to feel the feeling you want. So like, for instance, Sanjay, you could close your eyes now, even though you're not in Portugal, you're not in this place, you can close your eyes. Even just talking about it now probably got some of these feelings activated. You could close your eyes and actually imagine being on one of those massage tables at the very end, and they got your feet going, and you hear the sounds of the waves or anything you can imagine, smelling the air, and you can calibrate right now as if you were there. And that is the most powerful thing, because now you've learned how to unconditionally tune using your intention and focus, not needing the conditions to change. See, this is the thing. A lot of people, it's a human thing to do. We don't feel good. And so we're like, well, I want to feel good. Of course, like that's a good thing that you don't feel good and you want to feel good. But most people think, well, I want to feel good. So where can I go? Or who can I talk to? Or what can I change in order to feel good? And that can be good, but that can just send you into like a continual hamster wheel of trying to take action or change conditions to feel good. And it's just a very conditional way to live. And then you just get mixed results. But if you can find a way to, no matter what condition you're in, to be able to close your eyes and breathe and focus in your body and calibrate on demand with the power of your focus, that's when you have true freedom. That's when you have true freedom. And you, like one of my favorite Abraham segments, they talked about, they said, take 90% less action. Do you remember that? Yeah, Kelly nods her head. Take 90, at first I think they started out, take 50% less action. And they were like 70%. Fuck it, 90%. Literally, out of the stuff that you do every single day, you could cut out 90% of that action and do more of this vibrational work and have massive, massive, amazing shit come out of your vortex in your life. That's one of the things, like I am obsessed with this work, and I'm obsessed with mastering it and helping other people to master it. And in this journey over the last 7 years, again, for those of you that have seen my list of all my manifestations, over 70 vacations, went from broke as a joke to now multi-millionaire, over 20 cars, all these different, like I take as little action as possible. I am actually super intentional on only taking action that feels good. Sometimes I trip myself up and still come from, oh, but I really need to do this. But that's very, very rare. Like I've really conditioned myself away from the shoulds and the have tos and got to, and do the vibrational work and like the stuff that manifests around me effortlessly. It's just amazing. And it's my biggest joy to teach others how to do the same, because that whole action journey, like eventually, like you can't motivate yourself enough, then your insides are all twisted with overwhelm and stress and guilt, and it just piles on top of each other. So as beautiful it is to be able to fly somewhere, like Amanda and I were just in Greece with Liz Hayes. Are you kidding me? That retreat was off the charts, and I've never felt that way. Like that was amazing. But then when I come back home, I want to know how to calibrate to those feelings without having to go back to Greece, because I can't do that all the time. So it's great to have those experiences for sure. And how do you integrate that back in? So this leads us back to the cheat sheet. And we'll talk about integration, because that's where it's at. How do you take these good feelings and integrate it back into job life or romantic relationships or relationships with your kids or friends? So good. Okay. So we did the second thing. Now we're on integration. So let me just wrap this up here. So you change the size, location, and just check with yourself. Is there anything else this thing wants to do that would feel even better for you? Oh, wait, I didn't share my screen. I was wondering where you guys went. Sorry. Bing bong. Okay, here we go. So the last little bit of the calibration is just, you just want to just keep moving that object. You can change the colors again, change the shape again, until it feels just right, to where you're knowing you're feeling a good emotion. Yeah, once it's feeling just right, you can ask that thing. This is a fun step, and you might see me do it today. I don't always do it. It's more of an intuitive thing. Let's say it turned into a big multicolored bouncy ball, and it's bouncing out here. You can imagine asking that bouncing ball, is there anything it wants to tell you? And it sounds kind of weird, like a ball's going to tell you something. It might be like, just have fun and let go. It's like, this thing is like channeling source to you. It's like the vehicle that allows you to hear a message that your inner being's been screaming all along. Just have fun, let go. Now you've got this ball telling you that, right? Or you got this, you're the best. Who knows what it might be. So now, you kind of wrap up this phase by asking, like, what is the emotion you're feeling now? It's also fun, again, to ask that object, what is it feeling now? It's feeling free and happy, and I'm feeling all is well and content or something, right? So now at the end of the calibration step, you're feeling a purely good feeling. Now we go into integration. So once you've calibrated yourself in a good feeling emotion, which is anything from neutral and above. Let's just talk about neutral for a second. Ooh, it's 4:44. Oh, it just switched. Okay, so neutral is a good place to be. And there's a lot of people who might have a lot of momentum in these lower quadrant emotions that to them Abraham has said this too. Sometimes people would rather feel a bad emotion than no emotion. Isn't that weird? Some people would rather feel a bad emotion than nothing. I've had people when they reach like, they release their resistance and I ask them what they're feeling, they'll say, I feel numb. And I'm like, is it numb or do you just feel neutral? Like to them, like it's got to be a strong feeling to be a good feeling, even if the strong feeling is a bad feeling. So even neutrality or nothing or like a shoulder shrug is way better than any of those low emotions. But generally, if you're even noticing, I wonder if I'm feeling neutral, what you kind of want to ask yourself is, actually, is this a feeling of calm or a little bit of peace maybe? Neutral, calm, and peace kind of feel the same. There's just like not a lot of movement going on, but it's a good place to be. One of my favorite feelings, and most people wouldn't suspect this, they would imagine my favorite feelings and the ones I feel most often is excitement and joy and enthusiasm. And I do feel those for sure. But most often I go for feeling calm and all is well. Those are my most dominant emotions that I have throughout the day, is a calm, all is well. And those are beautiful. I think of that as like a rich garden soil, freshly toiled and mixed with manure. It's just a breeding ground for flowers of joy. I allow myself, when I'm feeling calm and all is well, just go about my day. And then here's this joyful thing that lands. And so I allow, like, joy is usually more in response to something that I tracked out of my vortex by being in a calm, knowing place of all is well, if that makes sense. So anyway, so that's that. So once you notice the good emotion that you're feeling, you might feel, let's say you feel 3, you feel love and you feel peaceful and you feel connection. So those are 3 different feelings. Each of those feelings show up as a different sensation in your body. So let's say you say, I feel joy, peace, and connection. Pick one and allow yourself to singularly focus on that. And you'll singularly focus on each of them, but one at a time. Because joy and peace feel different. They feel wonderful together, but it's kind of like ingredients in a cocktail. So you've got your vodka, you've got your Coke, and you got something else and ice cubes. So it's like you allow yourself to feel that feeling of joy. Your eyes are closed. Where do I feel joy in my body? Oh my gosh, it's like champagne bubbles in my chest. What color is joy? It's golden, like champagne. And if you allowed yourself to feel even more joy, oh my gosh, the bubbles move faster and they spread. So notice what I'm doing. It's kind of like what I was doing here in the calibration with the negative feeling to help it feel better. Once I feel joy, I do the same thing. Where is it in my body? Heavy, light, or medium? What's it look like? If I turned up the volume of joy, what happens with this sensation? And so you singularly focus on it, see it in your body, allow it to be bigger. Then that's basically taking the joy drink and putting in the cup. And now you're like, okay, now I'm gonna do the same thing with peace. Where is that peace? Let me feel that. Ooh, peace. I feel it in my hips. It feels heavy in a good way. Oh, it feels like roots of a tree going down into the earth. It's really grounding. So you're allowing yourself to focus on that feeling of peace. And again, what you're doing when you singularly focus on a good emotion, talk about law of attraction. You know, Abraham says at 17 seconds, momentum is kicked in. At 60 some seconds, like manifestation has begun. So by you allowing yourself to spend this extra time, focus on the feeling of peace and how it shows up in your body and allowing it and guiding it to become even more. Are you kidding me? You are like putting so many engines on the train pointing in the right direction for you. Plus, you're practicing these good feelings so that you can be more familiar with these good feelings. I tell you, there are so many people out there that are so familiar with what anxiety feels like. A little hair can trip them into anxiety. But a lot of people aren't that familiar yet with peace or a feeling of connection or a feeling of respect or a feeling of trust. And so when you hit on these feelings in a calibration, do yourself a big gift and allow yourself to feel it for a good minute. And you pour that peace in there. So you got the joy in there, you got the peace. Now I want to feel that connection. Oh, I feel that in my arms. My arms are tingly. They're lightweight. feel like they want to hug something. Oh, that's what connection feels like. So then you put that up, and then you get to, once you touch on all, let's say 3 of those emotions, you've got them all active. Now you can kind of feel them as a whole. It's kind of like when you have the ingredients on a cocktail, if you take a taste of each one, but it's one flavor, but if you pour them all together, it's this whole new cocktail. So imagine what joy, peace, and connection feel like together. It's a very distinct, they create a distinct singular feeling, and it's a singular sensation in your body. So you're just like, it feels like you're plugged into the wall socket, and you can feel source energy coursing through your body in different ways. And then in integration, so that's integration where you're really feeling it fully and completely in your body. And then you go ahead and intentionally allow yourself to take a soft look at that old topic that you wrote down on your sheet of paper that you started with, and see what new thoughts or clarity are there. You're doing it with an intention. Again, this whole exercise, you're in a container with an intention to activate this icky vibration, release resistance, float up here, feel this connection with source, really good, and then turn your attention back to the subject and see what's there new for you. And so you could have lots of realizations, lots of clarity, or it might be like not a lot of clarity, but you notice you get to look at it and there's no emotional charge. It's kind of a shoulder shrug. Que sera, sera. Is that what you say? All is well, like no big deal, right? It could be something as simple as that. But I'll tell you, if you take a topic that was triggering you and you even get to a place of, not a big deal, that's huge. That's a release of attachment on something that had your attachment and focus pulling your vibration down. So being able to release from that and be able to choose your focus elsewhere on more delicious things in your life, this will take care of itself. The manifestation that this will become will be the vortex version of all that negative focus created for you. So, so that's the integration part is, do you see? Okay. As you feel this good feeling in your body, what new thoughts are there if you turn your attention back to the original subject? Do you see anything about it from a broader, better feeling perspective? Another thing I like to add in here, I might type it in, is what do you now know to be true about you? What do you now know to be true about that other person? What do you now know to be true about that situation? Like, for instance, if the situation was like some boss at work that's just on your case, blah, 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 and you're feeling like criticized and hopeless. Well, oftentimes in those kinds of situations, when somebody calibrates and gets to this connected place and they take a look at that, and I ask, what do you know to be true about this situation? They'll go, oh my gosh, it's not about me. My boss is just all twirled around the axle because his boss is getting, it's not even, it has nothing to do with me. Now I don't need to take it personally. Now it doesn't ruin my day. He's having a bad day. I can still be cool. You know, like it just is amazing what you can see differently. And then the next part of integration that I like is taking your focus off that topic, back into your body, feeling these good feelings, and imagine going through the rest of your day to day, feeling these feelings. What would be different about your breathing, your posture, your tone of voice as you talk with anybody? What do you see yourself maybe doing tonight? Going to bed early, watching a show, going on a walk? What might be different now that you've activated these good feelings? How might the rest of your day be different? And that's that kind of pre-paving. Yeah. Not pre-paving to try to get an outcome, not pre-paving to try to make yourself do the dishes that you've been shaming yourself about. In fact, it might be like, hey, all is well. I'm going to leave the dishes in the sink and take a soak in the bathtub. Yay, me, you know? So we're not pre-paving to try to get an outcome. We want to pre-pave. What is your new way of being? What are you radiating vibrationally? And how do you feel about yourself or others as you move through the day? So at the bottom, I was like, have fun with this. You want to have the attitude of nothing serious going on here. Nothing serious going on here. Just allowing movement of emotion so you can feel better. The whole goal is just to feel better. And it's great when you have an opportunity with a method like this to take something that consistently knocks you off your high flying disc and finally do something about it. So next time you interact with it, it doesn't knock you off your disc. You can stay steady and allow that to be, and maybe even allow it to change for you, not because you took strategic action, but you took vibrational action. Yeah. So what questions are there after reviewing that entire document? Anybody have questions? No, I like it. I'll just take that as I explained it very well. Yes. Okay, good. Yep. So that is yours to keep forever. You can print it out. You can make copies. You can write on it. Would be interested if you get back to Amanda, if you try it, like how did that feel? It'll also be good for you to see in just a moment here, me actually calibrating somebody live. The other thing I want to say is self-calibration is great. It's something that I do all the time, but I don't necessarily do this process all the time. Again, just like Sanjay said, think of a calibration as just tuning your attention to something that allows you to feel better and really being intentional about recognizing that you felt better. It's not just like, oh, this is some good music, I feel bad. And like, no, I'm feeling good. Where do I feel this in my body? And so really having, when you set your number one priority on feeling good, first thing I want to say here is sometimes when you hear Abraham say joy is the key, or your only job is to feel good. Sometimes when you don't feel good, it can cause like a little shame cycle, like a beating up on yourself, judgment, or panic. Oh my God, I don't feel good. You want to be easy on yourself if you're not feeling good. But when you know in the background, my intention is to feel better, that means when you're not feeling good, you're more willing to stop everything and chill out in a corner somewhere and take some breaths and have your priority is to feel good. If nothing else, just to let yourself know it's okay. It's okay that I'm upset right now, because even just those words will soften that. And you have that be your focus, and then you surround yourself with different tools and techniques. It is a game changer for your life. So the self-calibration, yes, Amanda.
We do have a question from Ron. When is the best time to do the calibration?
Okay. So again, the best time is to do it when there's a few answers to this question. One is you want to make sure you can be in a space where you're quiet and alone and can focus and have like a good 10 or 15 minutes at minimum to really be able to focus. So that's one thing. But really, this question can have so many different answers. You want to catch things early, right? Like Abraham has the analogy of the car on the top of the hill in San Francisco. And if that car gets going, if you're focused in a way and you're not feeling good, and you just continue to focus that way, that momentum will pick up and it'll make it way harder to even decide to take a time out. So I love that. Remember when you're a kid and they're like, stop, drop, and roll. I saw this meme one time, because the whole stop, drop, and roll is like, if you ever catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. And this meme was like, I was under the impression that I'd catch on fire a lot more times than who's ever caught on fire, but they like beat that into you. But what I love about it is stop, drop, and calibrate, or stop, drop, and breathe. As soon as you notice some discomfort, you want to back up from it and calibrate, either using this process or just by closing your eyes and taking 3 deep, slow breaths and calm your nervous system down by breathing and reminding yourself that all is well, and then turn your attention to another subject. It's an indicator. If you're focused on subject A over here and you're getting wound up, a lot of people, what they might try to do is, okay, I'll back up and I'll breathe, and I'm going to go right back to this topic. And then they get worked up again. Like, you remember that emotions are your guides. So your emotions are letting you know, don't focus on that right now. It's got too much resistance. Let it be. There might be another cooperative component that will take care of that for you. So there's just different things. One is you want to think about calibrating throughout the day, all day. Whether it's this tool that's kind of big guns tool, or again, just breathing or putting on some music and disengaging with the thing that you were focused on that got you agitated. Like, again, I'm just consistently, continually aware of my emotions throughout the day. And if I notice I'm getting tripped up about something, I do everything I can to unfocus, focus on something that feels better. If I'm really trolled up, I'll reach out to Stephanie, my Malabrator, and have her provide a calibration to me. So hopefully that answers your question. But whenever you notice you're getting wound up, you want to calibrate one way or another, whether it's this process or something else. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll get more of what's unwanted. You really have to take control of your focus. Your emotions are your guide. Think about negative emotions. First of all, I want to say are a good thing. You don't want to not have negative emotions. You want to just know what to do when you experience them. Think of negative emotions as like pain receptors on your fingertips. You want to have nerve endings on your fingertips because you want to know if you're touching a hot stove. If you couldn't feel that, you would keep your hand there and burn your skin off. And so your negative emotions are there to go, hey, take your attention off that. Look over here. Look at the cute bird. Look at that tree. Look at that tree. You want to follow the good feeling. So use your awareness of negative emotions as a guide to know when to unfocus. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Anybody else want to comment or ask a question on anything that was just said, even just right then or on the self-calibration sheet? Jill?
So, and
Yeah.
Nalani also had a question about the 90% less work.
Yes.
Are you more focused on simply doing what feels good at that time? And what does that look like?
Yes. Yeah. So the very, very best question, and this is a question you want to just start practicing asking yourself throughout the day, every day. What would feel better? Doing this or that or that? Oh, doing that. Now I've done that. Okay, now it would feel good. This, that, or that. And literally, so I'm not doing nothing. I'm not just sitting on the couch all day because that actually wouldn't feel good. Does that make sense? It feels good sometimes to sit on the couch for an hour or two and play my solitaire. I do that literally every day. Amanda knows my story. I love playing solitaire, which is kind of like doing nothing, but it's not doing nothing. When I play my solitaire game, I'm in such like a meditative, calm, also really proud of like I can do the most complex games and solve them like that. So I'm feeling proud of myself. And I know I'm no longer caught in the illusion that this is a waste of time. I know that as long as I'm feeling good, it's the best use of my time. It's not what I'm doing, it's how I'm feeling. And so if you just allow yourself to ask yourself, what do I want to do? Or what do I feel like doing? And just literally start allowing yourself to do more of that and less of the stuff you don't want to do. That's when magic really happens. But then people freak out. Well, who's going to do the fucking laundry then? The dishes are going to pile. How will I make money? I'm going to get fired from my job. Well, there's going to be times when you actually want to do the laundry. Can I just tell you a fun story? Okay. So I have in my house, our house is generally pretty tidy. Although I also like to let 3 laundry loads pile up sometimes. Sometimes that feels good because I don't feel inspired to do it. We have this little closet that's kind of like our mini office. It's a printer, but it's where we put all the shit like mail and keys and sunglasses galore. And it's usually kind of a shit show. And it had actually been like walking by it. I'm like, okay, that's kind of bothering me. I want it to be clean, but I don't want to clean it right now. When you start removing labels from something of like, I don't like that. And you just say, not now. I'm not feeling called to it now. And I know better than to force myself to do something because I should, or because it'll make somebody else feel better. And so I just let it go. And I just knew in my mind, I'll get to it eventually. I only want to clean that office when it feels really good to clean. So raise your hand either in your head or real. Like, have you ever cleaned something like a room in your house and you fucking loved it? You turn on music and yes, right? So rather than labeling cleaning feels bad, well, sometimes it feels bad when you make yourself do it when you're not called to it, it feels bad. But if you allowed it to be without resistance and self-judgment and shame, and you just allowed it and trusted, source will eventually call you or somebody to it, magic can happen. So I had this messy office. It had been messy for a good month. And it was when I was doing private clients here in person, and I calibrated this lady, and we were just like literally my body was buzzing and vibrating And I felt so good. And I had nothing else planned the rest of the day. And I was like, I want to use this energy. I was like, bing, I'm going to clean that closet, that office, right? And because I was so excited to clean that office, I deep cleaned. You know, when you take stuff and you dump it out. And so I took this thing and I dumped it out, and 2 Nordstrom's gift cards came out. I was like, are you kidding me? Literally, a week or 2 before that, I was at Nordstrom's and I tried on these pair of Chanel sunglasses and I was like, oh, I want these, but they're $550. At that point, I was like, negotiating feelings about my head. I was like, you know what? I know I'm going to get these glasses, and like, universe, deliver them in a surprising, delightful way. Maybe somebody will gift them to me or whatever. So a week later, I'm cleaning out the closet. 2 Nordstrom's gift cards come out. I'm like, I don't even know what's on these cards. I Google it or I look it up online. $550. It was literally the price. $495 were the sunglasses. So plus tax, it was like $550. So I waited until I was inspired to clean. And because I was inspired when I cleaned, I felt so good that I deep cleaned and found this gift from the universe that got me these pair of sunglasses that I identified I wanted, right? So when you trust that cleaning the dishes one day is going to feel good, and don't do it until it feels good, or that somebody else will be inspired to do it. Like, things will get done, but you want to just only do them once they light up to you. And if they never light up to you, trust that it'll be taken care of by somebody else or some other way, or it actually becomes irrelevant. I had some clients, like, in terms of work, like, I really need to do this XYZ for my boss, but they can't even motivate themselves enough to do it. So once they finally let go of trying to do it and let go, let God, they find out like a week later, oh, we don't need that document anyway, or Susie took care of it. Or, when you allow cooperative components to fall into place, you'll know it's in place because that thing will finally light up. Trust that it will light up for you or somebody. Yeah. So do 90% less. And the things that you do it because they feel good, not because you're accomplishing something, if that makes sense. Yeah. Awesome. And then Jill, if you're still available, do you want to ask your question? Yes.
Hey, thank you. Hang on, let me switch. I had it on speaker and I don't want to see my face that big. I guess I had a couple of questions. One, I was thinking how, and it may depend on the person, but what if somebody's going through grief? Mm-hmm. Does it depend? Is that something I would say in my head, I would think it could be softened, but maybe it depends on where that person is.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw the Facebook post about your dearly beloved. And I had a thought. I was like, I wonder if she'll raise her hand and want to get calibrated on grief, The thing is with that, it was interesting. I had somebody in my training program, her pup passed away like a couple months ago, and she was feeling kind of low, and I offered a calibration on it, and she experienced some relief for sure, but she wasn't ready to not feel grief, if that makes sense. There's something interesting that tends to happen. I mean, grief can be felt with it could be just a loss of a friendship. Somebody doesn't have to pass away or transition in order for you to feel grief. It could be grief that I cut my long hair off and now I'm really missed, right? So, but there's something that happens sometimes with people when it's the transition of somebody or something that's important to them, that I've just found in calibrating people with grief, as the calibrator, I want to wait till that person comes to me and says, I'm done with this feeling. I just want to feel better. And otherwise, there's kind of like this push-pull. It's really interesting because if that person were to willingly want to, I'm ready just to feel better. The beautiful thing is, and I know Jill, I'm sure you know this because this is the teachings of Abraham Hicks, once you release the grief, even momentarily, and allow yourself to float up to the connection with source, then you can actually talk to and see and feel that transition person or animal. And when you're in grief, you're the furthest thing from it, right? It's like, Abraham has lots of stories about Esther grieving Jerry. Like, where are you? Where the sun? Flicker the lights for me, flicker the lights. And she can't receive that when she's in grief or saying he's not here. She really needs to allow herself to release that and see that he is here. And so so that's what I would say about grief is, for sure this works like amazing on that when the person is ready to have some movement on that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure. And then my other question, I'm trying to think how to ask it, but it's more on like future fears. Like, I have a desire to live overseas, but I'm really close to my family. Like we're all here in the same city, and I have a nephew who I love so much. And so I'm like, oh my God, I can't leave him. He's only 6. Like I got to wait till he's at least 16. I go to these crazy places.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I want to make a decision from that full self. But I really I'm like, oh,
Yeah. And so like with something like that, if you were to close your eyes, and maybe we'll calibrate you tonight on this topic, but you close your eyes and you allow yourself to think about that. So it sounds like you feel like, well, if I move to this place I want to go, I will no longer be close with my family, right? So there'll be an emotion that you really, it might be fear, but when you tune into it, it might be something else like loss or whatever. When you release that, what you'll actually get to see is it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can be as closely connected or even closer than when you actually live in the same city. Like what you'll realize, it's not that you won't have fear, and that like the false premise is that if you physically move a long distance away, that the connection will be less. That's a false premise. That's actually not true. So in a calibration, you'd actually be able to see that connection can be just as strong and possibly even more fulfilling, So a calibration on something like that helps break down false premises, which that's why that thought feels so bad. Like if I move away, I'll really miss them and they'll really miss me, and we won't have many opportunities to connect. As you think that thought feels bad because that's not what your inner being knows to be true. That's why that thought feels bad, because your inner being is looking at this desire. You have multiple desires here. You have a desire to live in this place, and you have a desire to have lovely relationships with your family. You can have both, and it's a false premise that it's one or the other. And so that's what you get to clear up with a calibration. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, what other questions are out there before we go into calibration? Ooh, it's toasty in here. I'm going to open my window. All right, so who would like to have a calibration? All right, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Miss Brown?
Nyanya.
Nyanya. Are you able to come off on camera?
Yes.
Good. Beautiful. Nyanya, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to write that down phonetically. Nyanya. Okay, beautiful. Were you here on the first call?
No.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. So that just gives me information that I just want to, were you here since the beginning of this call?
Yes.
Okay, so you're aware. So in a second, I'll have you tell me a little bit of the details of the topic we're going to calibrate, but very little details. I do not want the whole story. If you try to tell me the whole story, you're going to activate the momentum too much. So once I've got it, I'm going to have you close your eyes. And when your eyes are closed, your eyes are going to be closed the whole time until we're done with the process. And I have you close your eyes so that it's very easy for you to focus inside your body. And then I'm going to have you with your eyes closed, think about this topic and feel the emotion of it. And once you've got that negative emotion going, you're going to tell me where is it in your body. And then I'm going to ask you all those same questions that you see in that self-calibration sheet. I'll guide you the whole time, so you can't get anything wrong. You just follow my guidance. Do you have any questions before we begin?
Let me just rest my iPad down so I don't have to hold it. And then, so when you're asking, will you like ask questions for me to answer in terms of getting the details or?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. I'll guide you the whole way.
Okay.
All right. So what's the topic you'd like to be calibrated on?
I guess relationship.
A relationship. Okay. So high level details, like if you can describe in like 3 sentences, because this relationship probably has a lot of different legs to it.
Yeah.
What's the main bothersome thing going on?
I guess there's some anxiety because there's distance on his end and I don't know why.
Okay. So not physical distance, but like emotional distance?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. So there's distance and you don't know why. Okay. Good. Does this feeling of anxiety about this get triggered in certain moments in time? Like when you just send a phone call or when you're
Yeah, it gets triggered if I don't get a response in the timeline. I think I should be getting a response.
got it. Like, so you send out a text and then it's crickets for a while? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So tell me, what's one of like, if you think back in the last few days, can you think of a memorable moment that you went and sent a text and you were kind of waiting with the anxiety? Was that earlier today or yesterday?
Thursday.
It was Thursday. Okay, the way you said that makes it seem like it was kind of a big deal for you.
It was, and then I like responded. I was reacting, and then I'm like, okay, no, I don't have to react. And then I deleted all of the messages, and then he responded.
Good. Yeah. So one thing that's fun here is what we're going to do is one of the things I love about guided calibrations is, so in this calibration, I don't know for sure if this is where we're going to go because I always just follow the flow in the moment, but likely once I get you feeling better, I'm going to guide you to imagine when you're feeling these good feelings to go float back in time to earlier in the day on Thursday and replace that old you with this new you feeling these good feelings, and actually ask if you would even send the original text, because it's maybe likely that, so see, sometimes, especially if somebody's feeling these feelings of anxiety about emotional or physical distance, that sometimes the emotion you're feeling when you send the text initially is from a place of lack, possibly. Yeah. Can you even sense that possibly that text on Thursday initially was from a place of lack? Or
A little bit.
yeah, yeah. And so this is a beautiful thing about law of attraction. If you're feeling like a lackful or any kind of low vibration, even just mildly, when you take action from that place, it's like inspired action, but it's inspired from a receptive thing that's not so good. What you get back is more intense of that icky feeling that you initially took the action with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So kind of like, let's say this might not be the thing. Let's just say you're kind of feeling lonely or worried. Does he like me or whatever, or what's he doing? And then you take action like, and then no wonder, like no response, like, well, fuck you too. Like it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And so the beautiful thing is when we calibrate, when we go back in time, you might find, we're not trying to direct this anywhere, but you might find, oh, I wouldn't even sent that text. I would have been super involved with my friend Nancy over here, and we would have just, and then what might happen is that he ends up sending you a text. You're just out enjoying yourself, and he says, hey, what you doing? You know, so that's the thing to catch first. But you also might notice, oh, I send the text, but I'm not continuing to check at my phone to see if he's replied yet. I send the text and I'm off doing things that I'm loving focusing on. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Good. And so that's another thing I love about these calibrations is that it really, it gets you to start paying more attention and in more discernment of your emotions in any given time. Because like I just said to you, is like, if you're feeling off and you take an action from that place of feeling off, it'll get bigger. So the sooner you can catch you're feeling off, stop, drop, and calibrate, even just breathe and then take no action. This is the 90% less action. 90% of your actions you take during the day is trying to make up for what you think is a deficiency, which adds more deficiencies or the illusion of more deficiencies. So that's the other benefit of taking 90% less action, because so much of your action tends to be to compensate for like a lackful feeling that then brings you more lack. So are you ready? I'll zip it now and let's begin. Okay, go ahead and close your beautiful eyes. And I want you to allow yourself in your mind to go back to last Thursday, that memory from last Thursday. And I want you to find the point in time when you felt the most worked up, the worst feeling. And let me know when you've got that emotion going again. Yeah. What's the main looping thought you notice you're thinking as you feel this emotion?
Is he gonna respond?
There you go. Is he gonna respond? And what do you notice is the emotion you feel as you have this thought? Is he gonna respond? Is it anxiety or worry or?
Anxiety.
Good. Very nice. With your eyes closed, feel this feeling. Is he gonna respond? Where does this feeling of anxiety show up in your body?
My chest.
Good. Allow yourself in this safe container you have with me, allow yourself to feel that anxiety as big as you can make it. Get it really ramped up. And tell me this feeling of anxiety in your chest, does it feel more heavy, light, or medium?
Medium.
Good. Is there movement at all to it, or is it totally still?
Still.
Yeah. Bringing all your attention to that still medium sensation in your chest. What does it feel like it's made out of? Does it feel solid and dense, or more like
Yes.
solid and dense? Like what kind of material?
Maybe a rock.
A rock. Really good. Allow yourself to see and feel that rock in your chest. Tell me, is this rock smooth or kind of rough or jagged?
It's rough.
It's rough. What color is this rock?
Black.
It's black. How big would you say it is? Like the size of your fist or a watermelon? Or something in between?
A little bit bigger than my fist.
Okay, good. Allow yourself with your eyes closed, focus all your attention on this black, rough rock. I want you to tell me, does that rock like being black? Or if it could choose to be any color in the world and there'd be no consequences, it could choose soft pink, it could go clear, it could go rainbow. What color would it choose if there were no consequences? And maybe it likes being blue.
Yellow.
It wants
Yellow.
to be blue? Yellow.
Yep.
Yellow. Good. Are you okay with allowing it to change to yellow?
Yeah.
Good. Go ahead and do that. Allow yourself to see and feel it transform to yellow. Just the perfect shade. Let me know once it's yellow.
It's yellow.
Good. Does that feel a tiny bit better? Worse or the
It's
same?
a little lighter.
Yeah, notice that. Allow yourself to enjoy that. It does feel a little better, a little lighter. Is it like a sunshine yellow or mustard yellow?
Sunshine.
Sunshine, my favorite. Good. So now that it's sunshine yellow, I want you to go ahead and imagine asking it, what kind of texture would it rather be? Does it like being made out of a rock, or would it prefer to be like a sponge texture or silk or soap bubbles or cotton balls or anything? Feathers, gel, texture.
Soft and smooth, almost like a flower.
Oh, can you imagine allowing it to change to something soft and smooth like a flower? Just see if you can allow it. It wants to be soft and smooth too. Let me know when it's allowed itself to change to a flower.
Okay.
Good. Does that feel a tiny bit better, worse, or the same?
Better.
Good. Is it like just flower petals or an actual flower or multiple flowers? Tell me what it looks like right now.
It's still a ball, but it's smooth like a rose petal.
Oh,
Soft and
so,
smooth. Like,
so it's like a ball, but it's like made out of a rose petal.
yeah.
Good. Is it still sunshine yellow?
Yeah.
Good. Very nice. Now that it's this ball made out of like a rose petal, do you feel like it'd be easiest to imagine like you pop it out of your body out in front of you and we transform it out in front of you? Or does it feel like it'd be easiest to continue transforming it inside of your body?
Inside.
Okay, good. Does that ball want to get bigger, smaller, or the same size?
Bigger.
Good. I want you to allow yourself to see and feel it get a little bigger and bigger. Allow yourself to feel any nice sensations, and you get to choose just the right size based on what feels best. Could even get bigger than your body if that feels good. Imagine you've got a control knob on the size and you find just the right size and let me know when you have it.
I got it.
How big did it get?
It's to the base of my spine, from my head to the base of my spine.
Oh, good. And notice how that feels. Yeah. Is there anything else it wants to do now that it's from the base of your spine down, right up to your neck? Does it still like the texture that it is, or would it like to change the texture again or the color? What would it like to do next?
The texture is the same. The color is the same. The shape is just a little bit more oblong.
Oblong, good. I'm going to just do a temperature check. As you're looking at this oblong sunshine yellow thing from the base of your neck down your spine, what's the emotion you notice you feel as you're focused on that?
Calm.
Yeah, good. Allow yourself to feel that calm feeling. Is that thing wanting you to kind of relax into it, like it's a mattress or anything like that? I had a feeling. Can you almost imagine allowing yourself? You can use your imagination, even imagine laying down on it if you want, or leaning back on it. Imagine it's got you, supporting you, and you just allow yourself to sink into that calm feeling. And I want you to tell me, where do you notice calm shows up in your body as a sensation?
And my stomach and my chest.
Yeah, notice that. Your eyes are closed and you're just allowing yourself to breathe nice and easily. And you're just feeling that calm feeling in your stomach and your chest. Would you say that calm feels more heavy, light, or medium?
Feels light.
It feels light. Yeah, notice that. That calm, light feeling. Is there movement to it at all, or is it totally still?
It's a little bit of swaying.
A little bit of swaying. Oh, I love that. A little rocking. What is that calm feeling made out of? Is it like a swaying energy or liquid? What's the texture of calm?
It's energy.
Energy. And what color is that calm energy that's swaying?
It's like silver.
Oh, beautiful.
White.
White and silver. Allow yourself to see and feel that. See and feel that swaying, calm energy. Is there a temperature to it? Is it cool or warm or just body temperature?
Warm.
It's warm. Allow yourself to enjoy that feeling just because it feels good, calm. Nice swing. If you allowed yourself to feel this calm feeling even more, just because it feels good to just sink into it, what happens with it? Does it get warmer? Does it sway a little bit more or less? What does it do if you allow even more of it?
It gets hot.
Ooh, does it feel good when it gets hot? Yeah. Let me know when you've got the temperature just right.
Mhm.
Good. Do you happen to notice any other good emotions in addition to calm, or is it just calm?
It's a little bit of happiness in there.
Oh, you gave me chills. I love that. Is it like a joy happy or a content happy? What flavor of happy is it?
The joy happy.
Oh, my favorite. Good. Notice that you've got this swaying energy that's hot, this calmness. And as you allowed yourself to sink in that calm even more, all of a sudden here sprouts up this happy, joyful feeling, just even a little bit. Where does happy and joy show up in your body when you tune to that?
My chest.
Yes, that's where I feel it too. How would you describe that feeling of that happy feeling in your chest?
Feels comforting.
Allow yourself to just soak that in. This is so good for your soul right now, for your body, for your mind. Just allow yourself to bask in this feeling, this comforting feeling of joy and this calm sway. With your eyes closed, just being aware of these sensations in your body. I want you to imagine floating back in time in your body as you feel it now, with this swaying calm, this happy joy. Imagine floating back to last Thursday earlier in the day and replace that old you with this you that's feeling calm, a little bit of joy in your chest. And I want you to notice what's different. Do you still send him a text? Is it a different message in the text? Do you do it at a different time? What's different about that whole scenario?
I don't send a text.
Oh, you don't, do you? What do you do instead?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, you just keep enjoying what you're focused on. Yeah. How does that feel?
Feels good.
Doesn't it feel good? So freeing. Oh my goodness. And so you don't send the text because you know all is well, and you just keep focusing on what you're focusing on, having a jolly old time. If you were in that moment to think about this relationship or this person, what thoughts are there about it? Do you have some clarity about it? It feels good.
Just everything is fine. Everything is okay.
Yes. The
About
all is well. It's all good. Yeah. Yeah. And don't you just see it that much more clearly? Oh my gosh, I can tell when I send texts out of alignment, and I can tell when I send texts in alignment. I can tell by my feeling in my body. Yeah. And then I can see so clearly, oh boy, when I send a text out of alignment, it multiplies and magnifies into like just kind of a shit show sometimes. Not that anything's ever gone wrong, but it's like, oh, I didn't have to do that to myself. I can just stop, drop, and calibrate, which sometimes is just close my eyes and take 3 deep breaths and remind myself that all is well. And then ask that money question that I brought up earlier. My favorite question is, what do I feel like doing now? What feels enjoyable to focus on now? Good. Any other insights or clarity you want to point out to yourself or to us about either sending texts or this relationship as a whole?
no.
Yeah. Good. Good. Bring all your attention and focus back into your body now with your eyes still closed. Take some nice, easy breaths. I want you to just let me know, what's the most dominant good feeling emotion that you feel right now in this moment?
I'm just feeling very serene.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Serene. What a beautiful descriptive word. I love serene. I have birds chirping out my window. Serene, it's like you can almost sense that like time has slowed down a little bit when you're feeling serene, right? There's no rush. All is well. Everything is mellow. With your eyes closed, just noticing how the serene feeling feels. I want you to imagine going through the rest of your evening tonight, feeling this feeling of serene. It's like you just got out of a nice massage or something. Imagine what does it feel like walking around your home or talking to anybody when you're feeling this serene feeling?
Happy and confident.
Notice that there's confidence there. How beautiful is that? This is again why I love feelings like calm and peaceful and serene. They're just rich foundations for you to notice your feeling of confidence or your feeling of joy. Notice that that moment of joy came from her surrendering into the feeling of calm, and then joy just naturally showed up. Same with serene. She can walk around allowing herself to feel serene, and then she noticed how confident she is and knowing. Imagine allowing yourself to wake up tomorrow morning and being aware of this sensation in your body of serene and time kind of slowing down. What do you imagine might be available for you tomorrow?
Whatever I wanted.
That's right. Whatever you want. How good does that feel?
Feels good.
Empowering, yeah? Yeah. Good. Take some nice, easy breaths. And whenever you're ready, you can open up your eyes. Really, really, really good. So that was like just like a little taste test. So generally, so I don't do private practice anymore. I just work with groups like what Amanda's in. I train people in this, and I do calibrations in a group setting similar to this. Generally, like back when I was in private practice days, and all of my practitioners like Amanda and Yelena and others, when they do a sessions are generally like an hour long, and it tends to be a little wider reaching. Maybe they touch on multiple moments in times or multiple not good feelings, and really each of these steps, especially integration, gets milked even more and kind of sprinkled in more areas of your life. But we're a little short on time, but you get to see in even like 10 or 12 minutes, or however long that was, 10 minutes, I don't know, the kind of movement she got in that, to actually realize, like, not only does she feel better and she connected with the fact that all is well in this relationship, she got massive. Think of this as like, Abraham talks about, I was just listening to one of the segments today. It was actually Liz Hayes segment, where like Abraham says, like, experience is your teacher. Like, you can listen to Abe all day long, but unless you start applying these principles and actually have an experience with it, you haven't really learned or embodying anything, which is one of the reasons I like this method, because it actually allows somebody to experience the sensation of releasing resistance, going up the emotional scale. And then as they're feeling this is a beauty about like guiding her back to this thing that actually happened. But because she's in kind of a trance state, a singular focus state, she gets to experience it all over again, but from an aligned state, and see, what's the action or non-action I take when I'm aligned? Oh my God, I don't send the text. Talk about learning. From this point on, she can check herself before she wrecks herself when she goes to send a text and says, how am I feeling? Why am I sending this text? Am I just sending this text because I'm just like, blah? Or am I looking for an outcome? Am I looking to get reassurance that all is well? Well, if you're doing something to try to get an outcome like reassurance, what you're going to be faced with is more doubt and more wonder and more anxiety. And so this is a beautiful thing. She really changed her vibrational set point on this topic, got to see truly, truly, truly from an aligned place, all is well. And also for future experiences, she gets way more awareness on this topic and is way more likely to taste the vibration before taking an action. And if she notices her vibration is off, she knows what to do. No action. I'm going to close my eyes and find that calm feeling that all is well, and then see what I want to do. And it's probably not send a text. It's probably play my solitaire game or whatever you love doing, whatever it is that you love doing, do more of that and less of the things that don't feel good, and you're golden. Yeah. Good. Anybody? Yes, thank you. Really good. Anybody want to say anything or ask any questions about that or anything we talked about tonight? Good. So you got the self-calibration sheet. There is nothing like actually experiencing a guided calibration. I will say this again, I don't take private clients, but Amanda does. She told me earlier today she has 3 spots left for that special deal she's got going on. We talked about on the last call. So normally, like a single initial session with her is $250, but she's doing, is that 4 sessions?
4 sessions for $300. Yeah. So that's
4 sessions for
yeah.
$300. Yeah. So for you get 4 sessions for practically the price of 1, and she has 3 spots left. Do you want to share the link to that?
Yes.
I can't, I'm not wanting to push you to do it, but I want you to really feel is this something you want to try out in a professional way where you're guided by somebody and get to experience the huge shift on some stubborn topic that's really or maybe you just want to do it because you're just curious and interested. But this is an opportunity to meet with Amanda 4 different times, over 4 weeks, or you could spread it out over 6 weeks or whatever. But the deliciousness that you can experience personally for yourself and allowing yourself to go through a guided calibration is like nothing. It's one of those things we can't find enough words to explain it. It's something you must experience in order to really get the gist of it. It's delightful. So highly recommend that.
Yeah. And self-calibrations are great, but the difference is also you're having someone that's steady.
Yes.
Hold that space for you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. For instance, with Niana, I because of my steadiness, it's I can peek it. I know, even though she's this is a situation, I can tap into and tune into what's more likely for her to do if she was actually steady, which is why I offered a little breadcrumb of you might notice you don't even send the text. They just sprinkled that in there, not to guide her that way, but just open up a world of possibilities of a different behavior that might come from this. And then I know what's possible for her to feel. And so it's just way easy. When I first started this, my calibrations were 2.5 hours long. But because of the fine tuning of the process, and then also my steadiness, and Amanda's steady like crazy as well, it allows somebody to slurp up even faster because there's somebody observing them that knows what's possible for them. It's kind of like one of my coaches who's infinite intelligence. It's Ramona Gailey, who channels Oprah. So it's not Oprah Winfrey, it's Oprah, the infinite intelligence. But I remember when I was asking her early on, why does this process work? And she was saying that it's I kind of step in for their inner being. It's not that their inner being goes away, but somebody who's so far down the scale cannot hear the inner being. So to have a human there that is steady and has that connection to well-being and basically their own inner being and your inner being, it's a way easier. It's you're a beacon. The guide is a beacon for the well-being that's available, which makes it even easier for that person to slurp up into their own knowing of well-being. So highly recommend you meet with Amanda if you feel inspired anyway.
Yes, so the link is in the chat, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me also.
Yep, and feel free to follow me on Facebook. A lot of us are already friends, Jill. I don't know, Kelly, if you and I are friends yet. And I've got a YouTube channel that you can watch different calibrations and tunings as well. So I hope fairly soon I will see you again, if not on a cruise. Jill, are you going to the Mediterranean?
Not this time.
Not this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been before. It's a blast.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Any other questions or comments? No, we're good. Awesome.
Thank you all so much for coming. And the recording of this will be posted in the Facebook group, and I'll also post it to Meetup, so you can go back and watch it.
Yes. All right, you guys. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.